Day 2 of the draft had a couple surprise picks, and we'll talk about that with a special guest on today's Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Your Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You might notice that so I kind of changed up the graphic a little bit because this is like a little kind of mini weird thing I do. The Ducks colors are gold, Orange County orange and black, but there's a certain tint to that logo because we have a special guest who covers the San Diego Gulls as well as I do, John Broadbent from Defend the Nest SD. How's it going, John?
Good. Hey, glad to be back. It's a long time no talk.
Yeah, it's been a long time. All right, we're going to get things started talking about, first, let's just briefly talk about your website and your Twitter and all that fun stuff.
Sure. I've sort of branched out and did my own website covering the Gulls. Been doing it for about 4 or 5 years now. And I try to do recaps of every single game. I think I did pretty good last year in terms of covering every single one almost.
Yeah.
And then when the off season hits like this, I'll deep dive into a whole bunch of things and try to provide updates. And hey, the coach announcement yesterday was I wasn't exactly on the ground floor of that, but I kind of helped to break it, I'd like to think, because I noticed somebody else noticed it first, and then I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that someone else caught it first. I'm like, I don't know if we should report on that because, because of where I work. So I was like, let's get a confirmation first. And by the way, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jason JD Hernandez, as you can see on the screen. My Twitter account is @StimpyJD, and John Broadbent is @DefendTheNestSD. So check out our Twitters. You could find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. All right, intro's done. Before we get to the draft picks, do you want to talk about that latest bit of news? Because I alluded to it yesterday. We may as well start with the latest coach for the San Diego Gulls because this will kind of lead into it a little bit.
Yeah, I like it. It kind of came out of nowhere, but I like it in terms of his record. That's a bit of a pun because he has got the record for most AHL ones.
Yeah, he does.
Hard to believe given how bad the Barracuda have been the last couple of years, but that's just it. He's a good coach, and they need that.
Yeah, Roy Summer, the long time coach of the San Jose Barracuda, the Worcester Sharks. So we're going way back. Oh my gosh, I saw him coach in Worcester. Oh man, that's a long time ago. And he joins the ranks of the San Diego Gulls. So just down the 5 freeway. Sorry, for those of you outside of Southern California, the I-5 freeway. There. Everyone else outside of SoCal feels better that I said the I-5 freeway.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see what assistance he brings in. And it's also intriguing that it's only a 1-year deal. So I saw people already speculating that does that line up with the Eakins thing running out? And
that was my first thought exactly, with Eakins getting that 1-year extension. And this kind of came as a sort of shock because we talk about the coach last season only lasting 1 year. Remember about this time last year, we thought the Bouchard hire might be sort of an audition of sorts, right?
Yes.
And the Gulls, not having the ideal season, kind of limping into the playoffs. I've mentioned several times, the Gulls had that long streak going into the playoffs, losing that many in a row. And poor Dostal having to take the brunt of that. I love Lucas. And getting swept out of the playoffs by the Ontario Reign also didn't help. I think what was the nail in the coffin was benching Olin Zellweger game 2, which I still disagree with. Not that he's not the coach. I can say that. I disagree with that decision 1,000%.
Yep.
He was good.
Yep.
He was fine.
Yeah.
And And now we got Roy Summer. So what are some other thoughts on this new hire about the 1 year deal? Um, what's the deal?
It could, yeah, I guess it could be a show me deal. They're probably slightly gun shy given how the whole Bouchard thing worked out. And you can't really go wrong with his record. And it's also double interesting that he'd already accepted a role higher up in the Sharks organization, but he's come back to coach in the AHL for this. So what else is going on behind the scenes there? The mind boggles.
This might be a 1 year kind of. This is obviously a rebuild for the Ducks franchise right now. And the Eakins 1 year deal could coincide with that. Could there be something else in the works after this season? Because maybe there could be a coach that's more available after this season. Who knows,
Yeah.
right? So it'll be really interesting to see.
If
in
it's
the
anything
coming
like this last season where we've seen a massive merry-go-round of coach changes, that's possibly what the Ducks are banking on. So
Yeah. All right. So let's get to the picks because
yes.
this is what we really want to talk about. Day 2 of the NHL draft, not as dramatic as day 1. No French kissing going on in this broadcast.
I actually missed that. I had my head down looking at my laptop, and then I heard the comments saying, "Whoa, draft after dark. What's going on there?" And I was like, "Oh, what I miss? What I miss?"
Yeah,
Um,
too. Yeah, Maverick's parents French kissing on national TV after he got chosen by Arizona. Yeah,
well,
it got steamy there.
win in Montreal. It's the origin. Well, I guess no, not the origin, but
Ah, ha, ha. Bravo, points for you. All right, so I talked at length yesterday about Mintykov's pick and Nathan Gauthier, which I think is an interesting pick because that's straight out of the Quebec League. And the Ducks continued that trend into game 2. First, they got Nathan from Quebec, which I think is a solid pick. He kind of fits that crash in front of the net, be a big body, screen. And then they went to the next highest rated player in that Quebec League, Noah Warren, who I like that pick a lot. I know you like that pick. So I'll start with you. What do you like about this pick? What do you like about Noah Warren?
um, I love this pick. I've just from reading about it, his size, his defensive awareness. He seems like just an massive, imposing defenseman, and so slowly realizing that the Ducks are in a full rebuild now. They need to start refilling the cupboard, but also replacing pieces that they've lost. So, big minute eating defenseman like Hampus Lindholm. This is what this feels like to me as a replacement for him. But at the same time, and I'm going to make this comment in an article that I'm doing for a recap on both days of the draft. As much as this is the first Verbeek draft, and it's different in a lot of ways. I mean, first ever Russian taken since 2003 in the first round, 2001?
2001.
2001. And
Yep.
the first Russian in the first round taken in a year where everyone's freaked out about Russians. And so, yeah, lots of things different, lots of size. That's the common trend on this one, as opposed to taking a flyer on a small guy. But at the same time, a lot of things remain the same. Like there was a lot of Pat Verbeek, but there was a lot of Martin Madden still there. And this, the first thing I thought of about reading about Noah Warren was Tyson Hines. He, like, same long reach, same league, defensive acumen. Just, yeah, sort of really made me think a lot like him. Just athleticism, everything.
I look at his defensive game as being a responsible defenseman, as it were, where he's not going to give up on shifts. Big minute eater. The Gulls could use someone like that because I know they had a bit of issues in defense last season, partially as a result of players being let go by the Ducks being traded. You mentioned Hampus Lindholm being one of them, current Stanley Cup champion Manson.
Yeah.
Once you lose those two guys, then you have guys from San Diego come up, and all of a sudden, Trevor Carrick is carrying the load for San Diego, and you need those kind of guys to replenish your defensive pool, as it were.
Yeah, and I also forgot to mention that when we drafted Mityukov yesterday, I tweeted out saying, because I was trying to think, okay, for the future, we have a skilled guy on the left, brawny guy on the right.
Hmm.
So it's like, Zellweger, Hellison, Michikov, and then I just put Drysdale. But he doesn't really fit that. So I was thinking in the back of my mind, I wonder if we're going to go after a right shooting big defensive defenseman. And that's the first one they picked on the second day. So, yeah, you can see where their thoughts are going.
I can see where the long-term thoughts are going. As of right now, he's as of this recording, only 17 years old. He turns 18 in a week, by the way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
early happy birthday to Noah Warren, by the way.
Yeah, and that classes him as still being eligible in 2024 for AHL, as
Right.
opposed to like Zellweger was picked pretty young for his age, and then we're going to talk about him later. But is it Hibbetston? I can't say that last name, but yeah, one of the fifth rounders.
Yeah.
He's only 17 as well.
So I think long term this is a good selection for the Ducks in general. I would expect him. He's going to go back to juniors this coming season, playing Gatineau. So he'll be going back to completing his year 18 season. But I look at the frame. I look at the body. You always need that big body guy. You always need someone that kind of thinks shot first. Physical acumen's good. The skating's good. What other thoughts do you have just on this pick and on Noah Warren's game that you may have noticed?
His defensive ability and compete. It's what every team needs, and I mean, it's a copycat league. You always see teams look at whoever won the Stanley Cup most recently, and they all try to emulate that. So the Avs, they've got their skill guys, but they've also got their big guys to complement. I mean, who's the second guy he gave the cup to? Eric Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson.
And Manson, of course.
No,
I still
actually,
think,
Manson was down the line. You know who was third with
yeah,
the cup?
yeah.
Cogs.
I'm just thinking they've got their Cal McCarrs, they've got their Sam
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Gerrards,
yeah.
but they've got their big dudes that complement them as well. And you need that. And so, sorry, I keep reiterating the same points. His game is just from what I was reading. I love it a lot. Like someone described it as like he uses his frame and reach to just corner guys. So even the little skill guys can't get away because he's just so big. Like he just essentially bear hugs them, but not like illegally. But uses his long reach and stick to shut down essentially.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the thing he needs to learn a little bit, and that will come in time. What he needs to learn is to reach around but not take many penalties because there were times where he took some penalties because he thought he could beat them with his skating and the reach around. So I think that's something that he'll learn in time. But again, he's only 17.
yeah, yeah.
He'll be fine.
I,
And you can't
I'm
you
really
can't teach size.
no. That's a common comment that's come out of this, and I'm really happy with this pick. Yeah.
Yep.
Really.
And the other pick, and I want to kind of put these two together because apparently these two guys are good friends. I don't know if you caught kind of the talking between him and Tristan Luneau, also from Gatineau. I like this pick a lot, mainly for the. You also need another good defenseman. You need a good partner in crime, and also they're good friends. So, what was your first take on the Luneau pick?
I did not know they were good friends. That's awesome. I knew they were teammates. Yeah. Uh, upon reading about them, what stood out to me was, again, it's sort of following the same formula of what we've seen in years past. The Ducks took a risk on a kid with potential, but who's had an injury that made his numbers look bad. And that's, I mean, for all reasons, he should have had a higher ranking for going to this draft. He was first overall for the 2020 Q draft. He put up a really good rookie season in the shortened pandemic year. And it was only like he was supposed to just keep getting better and better this season, but he had off-season surgery on his knee and spent the first part of the season sort of recovering from that. So I like this pick as well in terms of he reads like an all-round defenseman. Doesn't really seem to excel in any one particular thing, but does all things well. And trying to really sounds like I'm repeating again, but Hampus Lundheim also was kind of like that. Um, Offense and defense, you need those kind of players. And it doesn't hurt to have someone with both sides of skill sets coming on the
Yep.
back end.
A little smaller than his counterpart, by the way. He's 6'2", a buck 90. He is 18. He turned 18 January 12th. What I like about his game is the puck handling. He's very deft at getting past defensemen and kind of getting past defensemen in crowds. So that's something that's a good positive for a
Yes.
player of his size. Someone who's good at passing. He ended up with 43 points in 63 for Gatineau. Pretty good for a defenseman, by the way. That's
Yes.
always good for a D-man. And he created a lot of offensive zone entries and great passes to teammates across the ice. He has what I think is a good hockey vision and that he can make those good cross ice passes. And he's also got a little bit of physicalness to his game. Maybe not as much physicalness as his buddy, but there's still a little bit of swagger to his game, so to speak.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, he's got a lot of potential. I mean, he was actually expected to go in the first round, if not, late first round.
Yeah, I heard early second round actually,
Yeah,
where he
so
could go.
yeah, it's could be another potential steal. So it's always good when we get one of those.
Yeah. He should be playing one more season in junior, and I've heard some saying he could be a fringe defenseman. He could be one of those guys that could be a back and forth kind of guy that is good in AHL but could eat some minutes in the NHL if someone gets hurt. So now we could talk about long-term goals, I guess, perspective is maybe in a year or two, where could you see him fit in with San Diego if he winds up being that great depth guy?
At very least, he'd probably be on first pairing. Or, yeah, I mean, it's really hard to predict because we didn't really think that much of Axel Anderson before he came to the AHL, and
True.
I've written about it lots recently that I feel he was the Gulls' best defenseman last year. I mean, Trevor Carrick, yes, but that's a given because he's the vet. But
He's a Maple Bro.
yeah, exactly. Anderson, if he'd stayed injury free, he would have been called up. He had a really great year, I think.
Yeah, that's a shame. I think given good health, he could get a shot in the NHL at some point. At some
Yeah.
point, I think he could.
The sad thing is that time's running out, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And by the way, just a little bit of extra on the expected likelihood of success chart. He's actually got Luneau. He has about a 20 to 25% chance of success in the NHL. The majority of that pie chart has him as a fringe player between the NHL and the AHL, which is never a bad thing. You always need those kind of guys, right?
Yes, yeah, they're sort of depth pieces that can surprise, and he's got the potential. He's got the pedigree.
Actually, I'll give an example going back to goals talk of a
Yep.
player that spent a lot of years in San Diego. I don't know if you could see my screen really too well. I'll kind of show big for the crowd if they can catch this. There's a little bit of something right here. A player that spent a lot of years in San Diego kind of went back and forth and finally proved himself this past season. The other Maple brother, Sam Carrick.
Yes.
Yeah. You always love those depth guys on the goals that could eventually make the Ducks, and that's the one guy I'm happiest for. By the way, is Sam Carrick. Just the way he's become a fixture on this Ducks team. We miss him in San Diego, but good to see him graduate. I could see one of these defensemen being those kind of guys later on.
Yes, definitely. And the defensive pool was a need going into this draft, given how many have been traded away recently. So,
Before heading to break, I want to ask the fun question. Just kind of put you on the spot here. The fun question. Out of the two defensemen, Warren and Luneau, they got drafted pretty close, 42
Yes.
and 53. Out of those two, who do you think would more likely make the Ducks team first?
I want to say Warren. His need is more. We don't. Yeah, pure defensive defenseman. It's. I think Martin Madden had a quote straight afterwards saying, "We don't have anybody like that in the system," and he's right.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's a pretty easy question, but I've also seen some on Twitter saying, "Oh, Luneau could be like one of those really underrated kind of guys." I'm like, let's slow down. let's
yeah,
let's slow down a little bit. I mean, I don't want to pump the tires too much. I mean, these are second rounders, but I like both these picks.
me too. Me too. Quite a lot. Yeah, I mean, going into the draft, I was expecting a lot of forwards because it felt like there were more skilled forwards. But yes, defense was the need, and I knew they'd pick up some,
Yeah.
and they did pretty well with these two.
Wait till next year's draft. There will be a lot of forwards in next year's draft. A lot of
And
high
we have a
skill
lot of
forwards.
picks.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so if you'll indulge me, I need to do this for a hot minute. We'll be back after this brief word from betonline.ag or betonline.net, which is the one place that has you covered, the one place that we trust. And folks, if you want to check out the latest lines, then head over to BetOnline right now. Hockey season's over, but the lines for next season's Stanley Cup is already there, and it's baseball time. So you could try to figure out who's going to make the World Series. Is it going to be the Dodgers? Is it going to be the Orioles? Is it going to be the Angels? Sadly not. But you can check out the latest props, odds, and lines at Bet Online. Just use your laptop, which I'm on, or use your mobile device to check out Bet Online, which is where the game starts. And Bet Online is the official online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. And you know what they should do, John? They
Well,
should they should gamble responsibly. And
of course.
by that, I mean, do not put any bets on the Chicago Blackhawks. Don't do it.
Well, you could bet on them coming last, if that's a thing.
You know what? I bet they'll make that thing like, who's going to be last place, Arizona or oh, that's an interesting question. Who's going to be last, Arizona or Chicago?
Chicago. I
My
mean,
money's on Chicago too.
yeah. Arizona already has to. They already have a pretty good veteran complement there, unless they lose some over the offseason.
Yeah, but 20 of their first 24 games are on the road. That's never
Oh,
good.
oh yeah, that's right. I've really been paying attention to that whole university rank thing. Everyone seems to be laughing at that. Um, so,
I mean, we're laughing at that right now because
well, I don't know. Was it? I think it was Sarah Civilian tweeted. They're all dressed at the draft yesterday. They were all wearing the same blue suits or something, and she said they're all dressed the same because they're going to a frat party afterwards.
there's going to be so many jokes against them this whole season. You know it.
I know. I feel bad, but at the same time, that was it. Their GM was the first guy that spoke at the draft yesterday for their first pick, and
Yeah.
just looked slimy. I don't know. Don't sue me. Um,
Locked on Coyotes are going to come out anyway. Let's talk about these other picks before we get in trouble here. So, pick number 107. We have an overager on pick 107 that we need to talk about. And you know what? If there's a pick that I would want to stand by me, it would be Ben King. Ah, you see what I did there?
yes, very
Yeah.
much so.
It will not be my last stands by me joke when talking about Ben King. Okay. He's an overager. He is 20 years old, which means what, John?
That he can join the Gulls next year.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because, as I said to you off air, follows the exact same trend as last year's fourth round pick, Josh Lapina. Picked as an overager, did 1 year at college and came straight to the Gulls. But yeah, Ben King can come straight away starting this season. I like everything I read about him, except for two things, which we're going to get into. But yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, they might be the same things as me.
They are.
Probably. Let's talk about the skating first.
Yep.
It ain't that good, is it?
Yeah, but I'm not as concerned as you are because, again, it's repeating what happened last year. The same concerns were with Sasha Pastujov, and skating can be coached. Sure, it's a natural reactional instinct, but players fall back on it if they're not kept in the same if they're not kept in the same cycle. But
Right.
it can be coached out. It's changeable. It's not something that could hold back long term. So that's not my main concern. My main concern is that, I mean, it's shown that he was drafted in the WHL, played for Swift Current, where he was drafted to 13th overall in the Bantam draft. Didn't do so well there for 2.5 seasons, I think, and then got traded early in the third or second season to Red Deer, where he subsequently took off, like just slowly but surely developed and realized the potential that he has now. Whether that's because he was older, playing with younger kids, that's a risk you take with taking an overager.
Right.
But also from what I've read, his need to have playmakers in order to generate his offense is what concerns me the most. Because yes, the Gulls need goal scoring, they need offense. But as I also wrote in the off-season wish list, they have guys like that. They have Alex Limoges. They have Hunter Drew did pretty well in his first season as a forward, first full season as a forward. But they needed somebody to play drive. They missed Chase DeLeo. They missed Andrew Podorowski.
Potts.
Yeah.
We miss you. By the way, shout out to Sarah Avampato, who covers the Wolves. We got to give praise to Podorowski, because what did he do this season?
Tore up the league.
Tore up the league.
Made us look silly.
Won the Calder Cup.
Yep.
And apparently, by some accounts, he apparently should have won the MVP. That's the other thing that we could talk about off air. Like, we could talk about that on a Locked On Goals. Potts should have won the MVP this past season.
I wouldn't argue that. Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, we could save that talk. We could save that for off-season talk, because I have a whole Pats. Anyway, they have playmakers. Alex Limoges, I think, was the revelation of the season. And you bring up he needs a playmaker. What if you pair him with Limoges? Or honestly, where do you see Ben King on this Gulls roster?
That's a good question, because it's going to happen this year. And I've started putting together a roster already based on who's under contract and who isn't.
Right.
And the right wing is really sparse right now. The left wing is packed. I mean, we saw last year, and that's what I was a little bit concerned, that the Ducks took another left wing in this draft. They, like, Braden Tracy and Blake McLaughlin had this alternate games because there was not enough room on left wing. Right wing, they need playmakers. They need
it's empty.
Yeah. Ben King's a center. They're kind of okay for centers right now, especially Lapita coming in.
I actually have him as center / right wing, so he could go to the right.
Yeah, so in that regard, I could see him on a line, maybe with O'Regan, just as babysitter, though he may not need it that much. And then McLaughlin on the left, driving play, possibly, or Tracy.
So we're thinking maybe second line of sorts?
Yeah, no, not top line, no.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully Grew comes back. He might make the Ducks again to start the season like last year. Either way, Lapina's first or second center. So it's Grew, Lapina as the top two lines, and they've got Perot, and so he doesn't really fit either of the top two lines. But yeah, I'd say bottom six.
I mean, the O'Regan line would be interesting with the Ben King of sorts, because I do like, while the skating could use some work, my favorite thing about Ben King was he's a great passer, good physical player, but he's a smart passer. So if you need someone that could finish goals, I don't know if O'Regan can be that top, heavy goal scoring. I mean, we've seen that he can in the past. But maybe Ben King could be that guy that could just be the smart passer in that line. Who
Yeah,
knows?
and no, I don't have it open, but I'm actually just in my head. I'm picturing, um, I think I even have Max Gollard on the fourth line because there's no other right wingers right now.
Right.
They've also got Pavel Regenda. Is the last name Regenda?
Regina,
Coming
yeah, I
in.
think.
Yeah, I mean he might go to the Ducks, but from what I'm reading, he's probably needing to start in the NHL first.
I
Uh,
think he's going to start AHL as well.
yeah, so he's a left winger. So yeah, I'd say fourth or third line right winger, and third line would be with O'Regan.
Yeah. All right. We have a few more picks to talk about, and we're gonna go lightning round on those last few picks.
Sounds good.
So we'll take a quick 10-second timeout while we get a drink, and we'll be back with those last picks on the other side.
How do you say that guy's name?
Regina, I think.
Yeah, and then this third that we got coming up. Do you say the H?
I don't know if the H is silent or not.
I mean, I've butchered it so far.
Welcome back to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm JD Hernandez, joined to it'd be my left, but on the screen it's to the right, John Broadbent from Defend the Nest. So, joining us, special delivery. So, we have a few more picks to talk about. Three more, as a matter of fact. We talked about Ben King on the last segment. This kind of fit having you on because, we both cover the goals.
Mhm.
And, Ben King is likely going to be a goal for most of the season. But there's these depth picks that we got to talk about. And it's Connor Hvidston. Ha! You're right. That one is going to be hard to say.
Yeah,
That'll
I'd
be
love
fun.
to know what the origins are of that one.
Yeah. Oh, man. By the way, he was a week away from being eligible for the 2023 draft. So he's definitely on the younger side.
Yes.
Born on September 11th. Hey, fellow Virgo. Woo, what up? Hey, you know what? It is not the best birthday. I mean, the best birthday is September 10th because it's obviously Troy Terry's birthday.
Of course. Of course.
My birthday twin, Troy Terry. That's what's up.
I knew that. Yeah. I know all the Dogs' birthdays.
I only know a few of them, but Troy Terry's the one I know by heart because it's my birthday as well.
Okay.
So happy Troy Terry Day. And what do we got? 2 months. Oh boy. So Connor's birthday, September 11th. He's an interesting athlete, isn't he? He's a good looking forward there.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of swagger from what I've read. And as I said earlier, follows the formula of drafting a kid really young. So like Olin Zellweger was last year. It means that he won't be eligible for the Gulls till like 2025. I think.
Yeah, because as of right now, I mean, he just finished his season with Swift's current Broncos. He will be back there, I think, for 2 more seasons. So
You've got to turn 20 before the season starts. So,
yeah, and he would just make it.
Yeah.
So he would have 2 more seasons in juniors, theoretically.
Okay.
So this is definitely a project pick for the Ducks. So what can you tell us about Connor Hvidston?
Briefly, I didn't have a heck of a lot of time to research on him, but yes, did pretty well in his rookie season in the WHL. Reads to me like a workhorse. Defensive side of his game is already there, and that's what he excels at. Which I like that because a lot of the time picks will be offense first and they have to learn the defensive side second, and that's always their knock. But he's defense first. A lot of comments I've read seem to say that when the rest of his teammates kind of forgot about defense, he was always there carrying the load, making sure he got back. Which maybe I have a soft spot for that because that's kind of my game as well.
No, I read a similar report. I read that same report, but I also read a different report also on that, and this was from Mitchell Brown. And I'm going to quote this. He says He's an advanced defender. Off puck, he's always scanning, anticipating, and eliminating threats. He applies pressure without overextending, coming across the hips to force dump outs, intercepting passes, and getting steals. You love you love hearing those kind of responses from a defenseman, right?
Well, a left winger. Yes, defensive forward, isn't he? Isn't he a left winger?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely do. And if anything, if he can, and because he was drafted so young, maybe he finds the offensive part of his game further down the track, and then he turns into an absolute steal. I mean, the last great plucking of the fifth round for the Ducks was Troy Terry. So
You see why I went there.
yeah, I do now.
There's
I'm
a
like,
method to my madness.
yes. And so, I mean, I don't want to get our hopes up, but he really could, like, because he's so young. We saw Olin Zellweger was drafted so young. His numbers were, so-so, but not explosive, and that's why he slipped to the second round. And then he absolutely blew everybody away this last season, and made everyone look stupid. So, yeah, he's hoping that Connor, because I'm not going to say your last name, can do the same.
I'm with you that one's going to be tricky.
I'm going to research it. No disrespect. I'd love to know. I love that kind of stuff about, like, where's that name from? Sounds almost
one later on is going to be worse. So we got two more, and we're going to go through these ones pretty quickly because there's not a whole lot on one of them. So I'll start with Michael Callow from St. Sebastian School in Massachusetts near Boston. Not much of a scouting report on him. I do have this brief report on Michael Callow, as it were. Just came out of prep. He's from St. Sebastian's. Had a stellar season, 41 points in only 25 games. And he even made the under-18 team for the development program. He's committed to Harvard for next season. Who, by the way, I know we're both familiar with Ducks prospects going to Harvard, right?
Yes.
There's a couple names that come to mind. John, can you remind the fans who those two names are off the bat?
There is incoming senior Henry Thrun, and
Yes.
is he going to be a junior this year? Ian Moore, I think he is. Yeah. So, I mean,
There's a graduate from Harvard who's a San Diego Google.
You're making me mind blank on that.
Oh,
Bedini? No.
yeah, Jack Bedini.
Bedini.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bedini.
That's all right. I like Jack Bedini's game last season. He was fun to watch.
I'm all about Lapina now. I'm sorry.
I know. No, Lapina had a fantastic season. I like him. I like him a lot. I mean, you know which player I love the most was Alex Limoges.
Yeah, I know.
He was my favorite to watch last season. But anyway, going back to Harvard. Harvard guys.
Thanks for letting me know because I hadn't read that far about his profile. So good to know Harvard. So he can join Throton and more. And yeah, it follows the same formula of the Ducks taking in a high school kid with a later round pick. Ian Moore was one of those, and who was last year was Kukkonen. So
Kukkonen, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another one going to Harvard too. So maybe there's something to that. Or maybe this is just, well, I don't want to say being lazy, but who wants to travel to so many different colleges when you could just have all your prospects at Harvard?
Yeah, and
maybe that's part of it.
And also, like, reflecting on the high school thing, where teams are they're not always drafting out of high school because, well, the level's not as measurable. But I heard one of the analysts say during the draft in the first round during it saying this, I forget who he was talking about, but the kid stayed home to play high school. It must have been the high school selection. I forget who it was, but and he respected that because it shows loyalty. They want to see it through their whole team development program. Which is clearly what he did because he's going to Harvard, so it must be in-state.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to stay local. He wants to stay close to his family. He feels comfortable there, and that's fine. You know, you always want your players to be as comfortable as possible. And in this case, he's not being far from home. He already has the scouts that he knows there. And having the ability to have the scouts that are already going to watch a Moore, who's already going to watch a Thrun,
Mhm.
and you're going to have those same scouts ready to watch Callow as well. This is a win-win for the Ducks long term, but this is also a project pick.
Yeah, yeah, much like Kukkonen. And he's a right winger as well. We need right wingers. Um,
Yes.
so, yeah, hope he can turn into something, but no big deal.
Hey, if not, it's a late round pick. The
Yeah,
last pick,
and
go ahead.
which deal was that from? Because the extra second runner was from the Raquel deal. This was from
So that one's from this one's from the Ben Hutton
Ben Hutton
deal.
deal. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this last one was from the I know
Also,
this
also deal.
Holzer. Yep. Oh wow, all the way back in 2020.
I know. I know. That's
Wow.
a long term.
You know,
And I know that because I was
I've
looking
been
for
covering this team for so long that I almost was like, which one is it?
Yeah, I remember this one because I was really hoping the Ducks would take this overager who read to me like a little Theo Fleury. He was like a 5'8" pocket rocket. But yeah, woke up this morning to see they took a goalie.
Yeah, this was a pick that kind of mystified me a little bit. Um, Vyacheslav Butiet. I actually had to look up the pronunciation for this one. This one was hard.
I was just going to say Slava because I know that usually their name gets shortened to Slava. But
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so Slava Abutiet, another overager, 20-year-old goalie. There is not a whole lot on this guy. In fact, he's not even on any prospect boards, not even like anyone's top
Mm,
200, 250. But what little we know about him is he's a 20-year-old that spent some time in the VHL and MHL and actually had to look up both those leagues and learn a little bit more about him. One's a junior league in Russia, and one is kind of
yeah,
like a semi-pro league
like a third
out
tier.
out in Chelyabinsk, which,
Isn't that
yeah,
where Chistov? Pretty sure that's where Chistov played because I
yes,
recognize that name. Yeah.
yep, that's exactly where. By the way, shout out to just like a really off topic. A friend that I know has a play called Ghosts in Chelyabinsk. Okay, that's really off topic,
Oh,
but
cool.
I'm still a theater guy at heart.
That sounds
But
awesome though.
that's
Yeah.
oh, this is years ago. This was another life ago.
Oh, okay.
This will be part of the off season get to know your host content. Um, but what little I heard about him is, he's a fairly responsible stays at home goaltender. Last season, numbers weren't too eye popping. About a 9-0 something save percentage, about a
Yeah.
900, not too spectacular. But the other reason that we're probably not going to be concerned about that is because he's in Russia right now,
Mm.
and some of those guys might be staying in Russia right now.
I got absolutely nothing on this pick other than the stats to go by. And his VHL numbers were pretty good. That's the
Yeah,
third
I
tier.
I had to dig to find something
Yeah.
about him, and
All I
it
can
was not
say,
easy.
all I can say from a positive look at it is, as much as I said before this draft that the Ducks did need goalies, I still don't think they need goalies. They're pretty well set. They acquired Kelly Klang. Um, I mean, it looks like Derny and Eriksson Ek might have run their course. Although
Yeah,
I'd like to give Eriksson Ek at least one more chance.
so would I.
Yeah. But my positive reflection or way of looking at it is Pavel Beeks learnt from Steve Eiserman, and Steve Eiserman knew how to draft particularly Russian goalies. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm looking at Vasilevsky. So, and it's really out of left field for the Ducks to take a goalie out of Russia. I don't know when Bobkov was probably the last one.
Yeah,
Um,
this was really out of left field, like you said. I
yeah.
don't think anyone saw this coming at all.
So there must be something in this.
Yeah,
Some
I don't
scout.
know what.
One of
And
the scouts must have been like, I want that guy. Um,
and the other
but
obvious concern is, would he even be allowed to come to the States? Because um, just kind of off the Ducks topic, but onto the National Hockey League topic, there was a story that came out about Kirill Kaprizov, who might be in Russia for a long time. So
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably a massively long-term pick, but as you said, he's 20, so he can and drafted out of Russia. He can come over when he likes.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a whole.
So final thoughts on this draft in particular. What grade would you personally give this draft for the Ducks
Um,
overall?
I was really not that like and people probably saw on Twitter. I really wasn't that excited about the Goche pick, but I've come around on that, and that combined with the first two picks in the second round, as well as being king, um, puts it on a par with the 2019 draft. Maybe 2020 wasn't that great a draft for the Ducks. 2021 is still going to be probably one of the best ones they've done in a long time. But so to me, that's like a B.
I almost want to give it a B. I've seen some B plus. I've seen a lot of Bs. I'm actually gonna go B minus on this one, and I'll tell you why. Um, that last pick left a lot of talent on the table. There was a lot of guys that could be solid depth pieces in a couple of years. And I think they just left too much on the table with those last two picks in particular. I mean, especially like the goalie situation. They don't need
They don't need a
another
goalie.
goalie right now. The
No.
Callow pick is a super long-term kind of thing. So
Yeah,
that's
there's a weird gambling thing going on where they're following the same pattern every year and taking a project high school kid, but they're not allowing enough time to see how their previous projects are doing.
yeah.
I mean,
So
Ian Moore is working out, but
so that's why I'm not as sold. So I think because of the last picks, that's why I gotta bump it down to a B minus.
fair enough, fair enough. And yeah, I mean, I'm trying to stay on the side of optimism, but yeah, I'm with you. They didn't need a goalie with that last pick.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, like you
and
said, last season's draft, I mean, when it's highlighted by Mason McTavish, and you saw what he did in juniors just a couple weeks ago, that's looking like, as weird as this is to say, that's starting to look like it could be a steal at 3, which is weird to say, right?
yeah, yeah, that's hard to forget. The Ducks had such a high pick. We never have one.
Yeah. I mean, you never know with the number 1, number 2 pick on last year's draft, but hey, McTavish could be the real deal.
Oh, and while we're on high up in picks, not related to the Ducks, but did you see the death stare that Shane Wright gave, presumably the Habs table after he'd been selected fifth? Yeah,
You saw what I'm doing.
yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
that.
yeah. It was
It,
wow.
oh boy.
What's the deal?
The fact that he
um,
fell to number 4 was baffling to me.
fourth. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
me
There
too.
there must have been a red flag or two there
I
as to
was
why he
stoked for
fell to
the
number
for the
4.
back-to-back Slovaks though. Still the best band name ever. Back-to-back Slovaks.
Back to back Slovaks, love it.
Yeah.
Um I
But
guess
yeah, back to this draft. Yeah. Sorry, you go.
one final question that I'll kind of start on. What could this draft mean for the goals long, or at least in the short and long term? I I like the picks for the goals, and I do like that Ben King pick because I think he could contribute right away in San Diego. I think he could be that guy that is not going to score like 20, 30 goals, but he could be a contributor for San Diego, and he could be a good minutes eater, like you said, like that third line, second, third line. He could be someone that is important in San Diego next season. And depending on who they get in free agency, depending on who comes on, it could be good depending on what line he is. I like him with O'Regan. Actually,
Mhm.
I could kind of imagine it right now. Him and O'Regan, they could kind of feed off each other a little bit. And King kind of has that transition game. O'Regan's a little bit older, but O'Regan is a smart player as well. Ooh, there's some
Mhm.
possibility there. So I would
Yeah,
say long term, this could help the goals.
yeah. And yeah, at the moment it's brief, but I'm likening it more to the 2020 draft. Um, and I'll be happier about it if next year's draft they get a whole bunch of playmakers and
Yep.
steady wingers and such. I mean, okay, if you draft by what's available and this draft was heavy on defensemen, then sweet, that's cool.
Yeah.
As long as you back that up with what you need as well for the following years.
Exactly. All right, so that's going to do it for this particular podcast. John, thanks for coming on and breaking down the second day picks. I know there was a lot of them, and you're going to have an article about it on Defend the Nest. So why don't you tell everyone where they can find your work and where they can find you on the social? So the floor is yours.
You can find me on www.defendthenest.com. That's defendthenest.com. And on Twitter, I'm defendthenestsd. That's where I'm most active. I'll share my articles on Facebook and Reddit as well. Feel free to message me, feedback. If you live in San Diego and you want to write about the Gulls, please let me know. I'd love to have somebody on the ground there. And yeah, I'm working on this post-draft recap. I currently have articles up about an off-season wish list, which features a look around the league of AHL free agents and basically pipe dream, wet dream free agents the Gulls could sign this offseason, but it's on money and whether they want to come. But they need them.
They need them, yes.
They need them. And when we find out about the assistant coaches, I'll update with updates on that. What else? I'm going to have some stuff coming up. Oh, I'll also have a look at undrafted free agents and who we could be seeing at training camp, because it's already been sort of mentioned recently, and I haven't checked yet to see if he got drafted, but Miguel Torigny, who came to training camp last season, has had a really good year in the queue. And so if he didn't get drafted, he could join the Gulls as a free agent.
That's right. He did show up to camp. And in fact, I can tell you, he was one of the last picks in this season. Yeah, I hate to burst your bubble. He was drafted number 216 by the Canadiens.
Oh, okay. That's fair enough.
And now that I think about it, I remember watching the end of the draft going, that name's familiar.
Yeah.
And then it hit me. I was like, dang it.
Yeah.
Man.
Dang. Oh well. That's it. That's why I'm doing this article. I'm going to go look around at all the top scorers in the other leagues that are overages that didn't get drafted and see.
Yeah. So he stays in Quebec. What can I say?
Yeah. So anyway, look out for that.
We'll see him as a Laval Rocket this season. Anyway, you could find me on the socials. I'm at StimpyJD. The show's Twitter is at @LO_Ducks. And I did promise to get back to everybody. I finally did. So for those of you that sent an email, sent messages, thank you so much. I finally got back to you. If you want to reach out to me, you could do so on Twitter, or you could email me at lockedonanaheimducks@gmail.com. John, thanks so much for coming again. And we'll do this again before the season starts, around the rookie camp and whenever off-season content we could talk about, because this could be an interesting off-season.
Definitely. Oh, it's going to be an awesome off-season.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
All the cap space.
Yes. All that money.
Yep. And I don't know if you've checked Cap Friendly lately, but guess who has the most money to spend as of this moment?
And absolutely has to spend it to reach the cap floor. Yep.
They need to spend that money. John, can't wait to have you back.
Money.
Yep.
It's like the opposite of that Little Dicky song.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't wait to have you back on again. And we'll definitely talk before the season starts. And let's have a fun season.
I'm looking forward to it. Yes, let's not lump into the playoffs again and get totaled in the first round.
Yep.
Yes.
And by the way, shout out also to all the Gulls fans that have reached out. You guys are awesome. Gosh, I love the Gulls fans. They're amazing.
Me too. Love you guys so much.
Yep. Yep. Bushy, love you, buddy.
I will wear that hat one day.
You know, I've seen him so many times. I still have not worn the hat.
Oh.
You know what I'm gonna do? Okay, next season, I will go there. Like I will buy a ticket. I'll go there as a fan. We'll see how that goes. I'll go as a fan and I'll put on the hat, or maybe during the preseason.
You have to. Rite of passage. And don't forget to have your beers ready for the drinking game. Hopefully, we won't need it as
Yes.
much this season. But I'll come up with
I
some new
will
rules.
just say the drinking game is fun, and that's all I'm gonna say on in public. All right, that's a good way to end it. For on behalf of John and myself, for Locked On Anaheim Ducks. That was John Broadbent. I'm Jason JD Hernandez saying, have a great weekend, everyone. Please continue to be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And Ducks and Gulls fly together. All right. Caw caw.
Not doing that.
You're not doing it? Yeah. Next time you could do it. Caw caw.
Bye.